Hello, in this final video of this series we're going to explore how to write and how a perfect mark answer looks for section A of the AS paper 1 for AQA A English Literature. So we've already gone through how the marks can be structured, we've already gone through how to plan, and then let's look at how to write a perfect answer. So our introduction should avoid using generic information and immediately start your argument. You might begin to briefly state why this is, but you should save this for the main paragraphs. In your main body, you're making your multiple points. It's essentially PE if that's what you're used to, but you should include structure elements of AO2, AO3, AO4. This may not be possible in each of your main paragraphs, but make sure you've covered all of those points by the end. And then obviously we examine exactly what we need to do for our argument. We do that multiple times before we move on to our conclusion, where we reaffirm our argument once more, making it clear why you feel this way about the texts. You may also suggest which aspect you felt was the most decisive and why that might be, and evaluate overall what exactly is it that Shakespeare was trying to do in this text in regards to love. So let's look at an answer, shall we? Is it doing exactly what we've said it should do in the previous videos? There is no doubt that Shakespeare presents love in Othello as something which is not only clearly patriarchal, but unequal and dishonest. These later two ideas fly against the notion of traditional Christocentric idea of marriage. So a little bit of context there and the AO1 already embedded. As highlighted above, Shakespeare clearly presents to his audience in the extract that love is something which is unfair. Whilst discussing the notion of adultery to Amelia, the character Desdemona remarks that no, by this heavenly light, she would not commit such a crime. This highlights the unfair nature of love, as even though the character has observed the traditional role of the subservient female, she is still being clearly treated cruelly by her spouse. Shakespeare reinforces this notion to the audience through the metaphor light, which represents purity and positivity, clearly connoting the innocence of Desdemona. The number of interrogative sentences, or sentences that ask a question, used by the character Desdemona within the passage also highlights the lack of knowledge the character has in regards to impure activity, which once again demonstrates the character's innocence despite the accusations from her husband. Shakespeare's motif of colour in reference to love is immediately used in a dishonest fashion by the character Iago, who claims an old black ram is topping your white ewe. The traditional symbolic use of black in reference to all things sinister and evil for the Moor is juxtaposed to the white ewe, which not only reinforces the notion of innocence highlighted earlier, but is a Christocentric reference to the lamb in order to cruelly exaggerate the notion of corruption said to be taking place. Alternatively, so here's our alternative interpretations, a psychological reading of this is that the character Iago is jealous due to his love of the character Othello, and it is his jealousy, hamartia, rather than Othello's, so looking at the notion of tragedy here, which instigates the tragic nature of the plot. So there you can see, there's my argument running all the way through, exploring perceptively the evidence that I require, linking in some context where needed. The start of the second point is here. This notion of inequality in love is further emphasised during the character Amelia's protestations that, and we repeat that process. Overall conclusion coming up. The nature of love is seen to be truly of a pejorative, with none of the characters in the play remaining unharmed by its nature. Even Cassio is left physically and in some ways psychologically scarred by the events. However, it is clear from a feminist perspective that love is most harmful to the females of the patriarchal world in which the play is set. So that's how we write our answer. Your job now after watching the videos is to make sure you're practicing planning, make sure you're practicing answering, so that you can achieve full marks in your exam. Thank you very much. Well done.